Do you know what the hardest part of these are?
What?
The beard police.
Oh.
They're going to come after you.
Oh, yeah.
The beard police.
Yeah.
Your beard's ugly.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
Hey, I'm Father Mark Mary.
I'm Brother Lawrence.
We are the Franciscan Friars of Renewal, and this is Essential Presents. Brother Lawrence has an interesting story. Uniquely interesting. And so he's going to share a little bit of it with us, his testimony. And it begins in Papua New Guinea.
Well, it begins in Colorado. My parents were in like an evangelical Pentecostal sort of milieu. I grew up in that. And when I was about 12, we left Colorado, and then we moved to Papua New Guinea. So they were working as missionaries to help support the translation of the Bible into indigenous languages.
Where is Papua New Guinea?
Papua New Guinea is north of Australia. Mm-hmm. So New Guinea is a large island north of Australia, and it has one of the highest concentrations of indigenous languages in the world, over 800. So I went to an international school, mostly with other expatriates, but in Papua New Guinea, which I loved. It's a beautiful country, and I had a very good experience there.
And what was your faith at that time?
So raised in that evangelical faith, which I had embraced as a young child. And I think even my time there in Papua New Guinea, it was good for my faith. Mm-hmm. Like I was able to embrace it at the heart level and really make a decision that this is my own. It's not just my parents' faith. Mm-hmm.
And so you're in Papua New Guinea until you're like...
Till 18.
Till you're 18.
Yeah.
And at the end, like, so this is like, I don't know if you call it like senior year.
Yeah.
You're in senior year, like where, like what's your worldview? What's your faith? Like what's going on with you at this time?
I had a passion for Jesus, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted to share him, and that was something that was growing. And I was, like I said, that was a grace time for me. I think I was discovering prayer just on my own, and in silence and in my room.
Senior year, you graduate high school, and then what happened?
Yeah, so I graduated, and I had applied to Brown University in Rhode Island, and so I went there, which I tell people was, in a lot of ways, a bigger culture shock for me, moving from a mission station in Papua New Guinea to this, fairly secular, liberal Ivy League campus in New England. I'd never been to New England.
Yeah. I don't know, like I kind of like, I imagine you like, with like some like, well, I mean, this is like a big caricature of what I think of like a mission family. You have like your backpack, a little bag.
Clothes from the 70s still.
And then all of a sudden it's like, bro.
Yeah.
But that's not, is that?
There's maybe some truth to it.
And what's going on with your relationship with the Lord? And
yeah, and I remained committed as a Christian throughout my time in college. So I was involved in a campus ministry group because I had this optimism that I love Jesus and I believe in the truth, that I really thought, okay, I can go to anyone and talk. And I began to feel that, where like I have other people's questions on my back, things that hadn't bothered me, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, what is the answer to that? Or how does this fit with that? But the Catholic Church has answers to some things. And that's one of the things I'm engaging with, to realize, this seems to be a legitimately Christian answer to this problem that I've never thought about, but other people are bringing up. And then the Catholic Church, someone's thought about it there. Okay, we've thought about the ethics of war, of the death penalty, poverty and wealth. Like there is a lot of thought put into that. Sure. Is that then in the evangelical world, okay, it's like, well, we have the Bible and Jesus, and beyond that, you can kind of think it's a totally open game. And as a church, maybe we're not engaging those questions. But with the Catholic Church, they definitely were.
Okay, so there's respect intellectually.
Yeah.
There's some growing respect in other ways. It sounds like from this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, where's, like, what starts happening?
Yeah. So I mean, I say Catholicism like snuck up on me. Where there's all these. Okay, I'm looking at the early church. I have a class on early Christianity, so that provokes these questions. But I never get to the point of, well, maybe I should become Catholic. But the way that came about was more by continuing this conversation outside of Christianity. Someone mentioned to me, and I realized, okay, this is really true. If I'm going to talk with people outside of my faith and engage with them really fruitfully, I need to know my own tradition better. And up to that point, it's like theology. It's very much a practical thing for me. What do I need to? What are the questions that I need to have answered in order to live my relationship with Jesus? But now, because my relationship with Jesus led me to talk to other people, I'm realizing, well, I need to understand what faith is. I need to understand like questions like predestination and have a stance. Whereas maybe before I was prone to stay away because I see it as divisive. And that's where I realized, okay, like that, I accepted that, very benignly, like a hook going in, and then realized, okay, well, my background's closest to what would be called classic Pentecostal. And if you look at like, 14 points or whatever, on like the Assemblies of God website or something like that, okay, I don't agree with all of them. Yeah, 11 out of 14 isn't bad, but like that's not the tradition I belong in. If I'm going to begin staking out, well, where should I learn or study from? But I was attracted to the Catholic Church. It snuck up on me. And then it was this moment of almost, look, a crisis might be the right word. And there was a decision to be made because it was actually disconcerting. It was very foreign to me. I had very few, a handful, and that was helpful. Handful of Catholic friends, but very, very few. The heart of my social world and my relationships were evangelicals. And I understood relatively little about Catholicism. So I had to decide, am I going to look into this? What is driving me? I'm going to stay in my comfort zone. And so oddly enough, or am I going to say, okay, Jesus, I'm faithful to you? Humiliation can be an opportunity for humility and realizing what if I've been wrong about this? I had this fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of messing up, almost God will be angry at me because I've had the wrong doctrines my whole life, and it's so difficult. But a verse which really carried me through, which I found very consoling in the Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus goes up to pray on the mountain, and the disciples go out on the boat, and then Jesus comes to them on the water. And I remember at that time of my life, I realized that it says it's in one of the watches of the night. So it's dark. And that hadn't registered to me before. I always imagined this picture of Jesus walking on the water, and there it is, it's painted.
Right.
But imagine being on a lake at night. There's something, no wonder they thought, okay, maybe it's a ghost. Or what is this? Who is this? And then Peter says, Lord, if it is you, call me to come to you. And that if it is you, that doubt was so consoling to me. He doesn't know. And I'm like, Jesus, I am committed. I know that you saved me. I know that I need you in my life, right? I know that I'm a sinner, and I know that I need you. That's my foundation. My hand is to the plow. I am not looking back, but I'm having trouble seeing you. Where are you? Is that you? And then now my eyes are forming something. My reason, my look at history are saying, maybe Jesus is present in the Eucharist. Right? Ignatius of Antioch thinks so. Justin Martyr says so, and they were pretty close to the time of Jesus. It had never occurred to me before because it wasn't part of our tradition, but okay, Lord, if that is you, call me. I need to, my eyes are insufficient. My reason is insufficient. I need you to call me. I need some help. And then of course it's so consoling that Jesus calls him, Peter goes, and he immediately begins to fall, right? He immediately begins to doubt. His eyes are insufficient. And then even his faith, it seems insufficient. But even then, the second time, he's falling, he calls out, Lord, save me, and the Lord saves him. And just this, okay, the way I'm going to get through this, the way I'm going to move forward is I'm going to cling to Jesus, right? He is the whole reason this matters to me, the whole reason, I could just go the rest of my life and try to seek a job and stay where I'm comfortable, but I am going to cling to Jesus, no matter what. I have this experience where I'm reading a book about the Mass. I'm I got to go to Mass. I had once been at part of a Mass in Assisi, accidentally. Accidentally, I wandered into a side chapel, was part of a Mass at Assisi, and I felt a peace, but I had no idea what was going on. I wasn't there for the whole time. So I'm I'm going to go to Mass, horrified. The Catholics are going to say, he doesn't know how to make the sign of the cross. He kneeled at the wrong time, and everyone's going to point their finger at me and say, get out of this church. It's I got to read a book. I got to read a book to know exactly what to do when. And I'm reading this description of the real presence. And it was a turning point. I'm not always a super emotional guy. I might have teared up a little bit. It was not I was bawling.
You didn't go all Brother Malachi on us.
I didn't go all Brother Malachi on us. No. Not quite. I realized I want this to be true. Before that, it was maybe it was almost like a fear, oh, if this is true, man, I have to throw my life away. Like, I have to become Catholic, and that means entering like a foreign country. It's disconcerting. Of course, there were elements of attraction. I always found monastic life as an attractive thing, as an element of the church, but religious life. But a lot of it was that fear. And then I realized that I want this to be true. And just that realization that this is beautiful and that it fits. Like, I know Jesus, and this fits what I know of him. Giving himself to me, even in the form of bread, coming to me, wanting to be one with me and him, and tying me to all others in him. It fits. I still had questions. I still struggled with them, but it was maybe 4 or 5 months after that I asked to enter RCIA. All the whatever bumps that continued along the way, all my emotional struggles, all my intellectual struggles, he was calling me. I was reflecting, just there's like on gratitude, like it's good to remember and to recognize things, because so many times those things happened that were, in retrospect, I'm like, that was a turning point, or this is one of the ways that Catholicism snuck up on me. I read this book, I talked to this person, I saw this thing. I saw like a sister in a habit in Papua New Guinea, and thought, oh wow, the Catholic Church it still exists. It was like a millisecond. It was hot, it was dusty, but like that was a moment of grace, and I won't realize that till years later. Years later, that was a grace, that was a gift. And you look back and you're like, okay, even moments that were difficult, the moments where I felt disoriented, being in this new environment, I can see how that was, God used that. He was reaching out to me that whole time, and I believe that he's doing that to everyone. Everyone's journey is different, but it's the same God who's reaching out to them. It's the same God who's offering those moments of grace, and it's the same God who, if we we don't have to be a superstar intellect to find our way into the church. We don't have to figure it all out. Like, we just have to be willing, like Peter, to say, Lord, is that you? If so, call me. And ask, and you will receive. Knock, and the door will be opened. So,
Brother Lawrence, thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
No worries.
Thank you for watching.
Glad to be here.
You ever seen one of these before?
I think I saw part of one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you did better than Brother Michelangelo. I sign off with Somos Peregrinos. We're pilgrims, poco a poco, little by little. We're going to make it. Vamos a llegar. Thank you so much. God bless y'all.